Welcome to the Fit Affiliate Podcast, where with honesty and transparency, we talk about all things fitness, coaching, and gym ownership, so that you can feel less crazy and frustrated and alone, while you also find more freedom and make more money.
And welcome back to the Fit Affiliate Podcast. Today we are chatting to Dave, the owner of CrossFit Green, all the way over in Ireland. How are you going, mate?
Lisa, hi, how are you? Thanks very much for having me. It's June and it's raining, so typical Irish weather.
Typical summer then.
Typical summer. I think
Typical
we had
summer.
about
Yep.
24 hours of sunshine and now it's back to raining. So yeah, listen,
Right.
it is what it is in Ireland. You just never know what you're going to get. 4 seasons in a day.
Yeah. Well, we're in the middle of winter here in Brisbane, Queensland, and it's probably still warmer than your summer, so
Yeah,
we'll take that.
definitely.
So we really wanted to have a chat to you, Dave, to talk about a little bit about your journey into CrossFit to start with, and through becoming a coach, and then hearing a little more about your story through CrossFit Green. So how about we start with how you found CrossFit and how long you've been doing it, and sort of how you've made your way to where you are now.
Yeah, it actually started in Australia.
Mm.
Um, I went to the 2012 regionals in Wollongong,
Yep.
and I was into fitness. I was PTing as well as working in private banking, and yeah, I just thought it was excellent. I just thought, wow, I had done my PT certifications, and I felt, a little bit undereducated after all of that as to go out and help people. And then I stumbled across CrossFit, and I stumbled across CrossFit Box, and just thought how they helped people and the way they coached and how informative it was and the amount of information. It just was like, wow, this is super interesting. And that was the start of, that's nearly a decade ago.
Yep.
So yeah, literally just I went into a guy, Josh and Philly from what was Metal Nation in Darlinghurst and CrossFit, and I asked, can I hang around your gym as much as possible? Can I learn as much as possible while I'm still working? Can I train with the gym? And that was it. Yeah, so kind of not even an official internship. It was like a fly on the
Hmm.
wall. As I was doing that, and then yeah, I actually registered for the name CrossFit Green while we were still in Oz. And
Yep.
I have to give credit to my wife who came up with that. And thank you, Sorsha. But we were amazed that no one in Ireland had taken CrossFit Green. So we're like, wow,
Mm.
brilliant. Yeah, and then literally it's been a learning curve ever since. We're open. We're an 8-year affiliate, so we've been open for 8 years. It's
Awesome.
going from I'm going to say strength to strength, but it's a learning curve. It evolves as CrossFit has evolved, as business has evolved, as fitness has evolved. So yeah, I put it down as the structure and format of how we do things today and how we help our clients today is very different than it was back in 2013. Yeah, but I've loved every second of it.
And what's that change been? How's that? How are you different from 2013 CrossFit Green to 2022, and how you're serving your clients now?
There's a combination of experience. There's a combination of education. There's a combination of putting your hand up over the years and saying I haven't a clue what I'm doing.
Hmm.
We very much started as, I suppose, very passionate hobbyists. And I always had the idea of coming from business and coming from banking. And I always had the idea of creating a business. So we were always
Hmm.
on that path and structure. So I initially I generated a team. There was hierarchy, but again, we were all very passionate about it. And I suppose that does two things is, it creates a great hype, but it doesn't always create a great business model. So we've
Hmm.
also now the big difference is we run a business. That business just so happens to be a gym or a CrossFit gym.
Yep.
As opposed to it was very much, hey, we just want to teach and do CrossFit back in the day. So it just
Mm.
evolved, I suppose, over time.
Yep. Okay. And that's an interesting evolution, because not everyone necessarily comes to that realization that it's a business rather than it's about the coaching and the working out and the hanging out. It's at some point you've got to really make that transition to business owner and put on our big people pants and make the big
Yeah,
decisions. But some people
absolutely.
never quite take that step with it. So when we're talking about CrossFit Green, 8 years is an awesome milestone to achieve and going strongly. What's your vision for what you want CrossFit Green to be, moving forward in the community?
Uh, I'd have to say it's probably twofold. So there's a vision for the business and for the coaches that have invested so much time and effort. And then there's a more of a client-centric vision.
Mm-hmm.
For the coaches, first and foremost, or for the team and the leaders within the business, that's setting up a structure where they feel safe in their environment, career coaches where they can actually do what they want to do and help people, but also afford to pay their mortgage and go on holidays, sit at a dinner
Mm.
party and say, listen, oh yeah, I work in fitness and I earn probably, equal, if not more than, other people, and I can hold my own. But so that they feel the reward from the effort they've put in, they feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's a worthy investment of their time. And for for our clients, wow, that's really changed. I suppose we used to sell access to group classes, be it
Mm-hmm.
CrossFit, and and that was very much a one size fits all. So regardless of what you needed or wanted, we overlaid what we thought was right. Now, so we kind of created a product and we're like, let's go and sell it to
Mm-hmm.
what the masses. And sometimes you're a bit stunned. Why doesn't everybody want this? This is amazing. But you have to realize what you need to do is figure out what does everybody want and then tailor your service or your subscription around it. So like even things like we don't we don't sell a membership. We provide a
Mm-hmm.
service. That service is tailored around each person's needs and necessities, their goals, their wants. That's going to look very different. We don't have a package. Everyone's first question is how much? We're like, depends on what you need. Um,
Yep.
and that, like, we've been evolving with that even before we started working with Tony and Chuck and Fit Affiliate. We were on that process. The guys just really helped tie it in a knot and tie it in a bow and really, really seal it in for us. And that's allowed us to really connect better with our members, or connect better with our community. A real eye opener when we went from unlimited to guys were giving you 7 days access a week, and people's identity was tied into the gym. We understood that the value placed from both sides of the relationship was out of kilter, so we had to readjust
Mm-hmm.
that. And now people are like really happy. Half of them can't even do 7 days in a row.
Yep.
So it's learning, it's evolving. It's also putting your
Mm.
hand up and Tony always uses the word with me in terms of being authentic, and we
Mm.
try to be that all the time and say, listen, we don't know the answers always. We're not the
Mm.
best gym in the world. We're really good at what we do, but we're always striving to learn. We're always open to feedback. We're always, open to putting our hand up and say, hey, listen, that was wrong. We've all programmed a WOD, and you're looking at the class and like, shit, we nearly killed everybody.
Yeah.
So same principles, it's
Mm.
day after day. It's just trying to do the right thing, trying to go in the right direction, trying to make the right decisions, and sometimes just reflecting on if you do make a bad decision, what can you learn from it, as opposed to dwelling in it. And that's been a
Yep.
huge change from where we were years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was like very emotional if something went wrong.
Yep.
And members really appreciate that. Our clients really appreciate that. I think staff really appreciate that. So yeah, that's been a huge, the two biggest changes for us.
Yeah, fantastic. And it is having that realization that, it's not about emotion. Sometimes it just comes down to systems, processes, being pragmatic about it, but and understanding that difference in offering, I'm just selling a gym membership versus I'm actually selling you a solution to your problems. And I know
Yeah,
when I first started on the process with Chuck and Tony myself, it was uh, as soon as I got my head around that concept, I was like, wow, yep, that's what I'm doing, but we need to value it better and have it more consistent rather than just being happy to take anybody that just wants to give you anything for, all of your time.
it's understanding also saying no to a concept or saying no to
Mm,
a client and no to a thought process, and that's okay. But it's what do you do after that? It's hey,
mm,
oh my God, I've just said no. What's the next steps? Well, then what is the solution? If I'm saying no to this person because they want, how much for 3 times a week?
mm,
No to your thought process. You're not wrong, but you're not asking the right question. Let me help you go back and
yep,
say, well, why do you want 3 times a week? And why is that
mm,
important? And why is that? And all of a sudden, Mary's like, well, I'm out of shape and I'm getting married in 6 weeks, and all my friends do something like this. And we're like, okay, well, now we can actually work towards something for you that's going to be relative, that you're going to be far more accountable to, far more bought into, and be far more happy with the result,
mm.
as opposed to 3 times a week.
Just rocking
And
up
yeah, so
aimlessly.
rocking up aimlessly, and it's Yeah, it's an exciting change. It's a scary change. It's something we've
Hmm.
been, I think, it's been in our closet for a while that we were trying to do this. Like
Hmm.
lockdown was a big identifier, just being able to say to people, like Ireland was closed, like we had something like 16 down months.
Yeah,
And we
wow.
were lucky. We
Intense.
adopted really well online and the business was
Hmm.
really well. But the coaches came up and said, listen, we needed a gym to come back to. And so did
Yep.
the members. Members were like, shit, we need to value what we have because if we all
Mm.
bail, well then it won't be there when we want it. So
Yep.
that was an eye-opening experience, and everyone I think took away the pros and the cons from that and moved forward.
Yep.
But again, it's what do you do with that information? Do you brilliant, I'm all gung ho and ready, and then just leave it to the side, or do
Mm.
you actually take any actionable steps?
Yep. And I found that's the benefit of having that mentoring to the side is having someone to keep you accountable as, our members come to us as coaches, our coaches that have that accountability and give you that little bit of direction and almost like I look at it, the bumpers on the side of a bowling lane. It's like stop you
Yeah,
going too far into the gutter, but we'll just keep you on track. We'll let you wander so far, but we're going to help you, bounce
yeah.
back.
I,
Yeah.
I actually met Tony in 2017, I think. He came over when he was on the gymnastics course.
Mm-hmm.
He came into the gym on a Friday evening. He was staying up the road. I gave him a beer. He sat in a beanbag and he was like, I fucking like this boy. Like, and ever since then, we've been close. He's come to visit when he's not working. We've done a
Yeah.
few road trips. So, like, for me, I was just shooting the breeze with him personally before signing
Mm.
up with this because he was hesitant because we have a close friendship about working
Yep.
together. And I said, listen, I've known you long enough now to tell you to F off both personally and professionally if I don't agree with you. And I said, what I need is someone that understands me and accountability. And like,
Yep.
I have to have my numbers in like everybody else and my data
Yep.
gathered for meetings and be ready to rock and roll. And I do it because I don't want to tell the guys, I messed
Not
up
done.
this week. Yeah, it's not done. And there's the financial accountability of signing up for something like this. There's the emotional accountability. There's the data, and the data then makes you accountable in itself. So yeah, it's really
Yep.
just been an eye-opening experience just in terms of guidance. And I think everyone should have a mentor, both in and out of fitness or business
Yep.
or
Hmm.
both. I think
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
important, especially if you want to treat yourself like a professional. You got
Mm.
to act like a professional. You got to put on your professional hat. Your goldfish could have died in the morning, but you got to come to work. And when clients come in for a service, you got to hat on, smiles.
And go for it.
You can't be yawning, guzzling cups of
Mm.
coffee, and
Yep.
expecting a top tier service to be provided and for them to pay for a top tier service. So,
Yeah.
it's always a learning curve and trying to go in the right direction.
Yeah, fantastic. And it is true. It's about having that mentorship and that guidance just to, one of my big things is I never wanted to go into my weekly meeting and go, "Oh, not done," for something. It's like,
Yeah,
I will get those to-dos done. Whereas, being a solo operator, it was like, well, no one knows if I don't do anything. I just don't do it. I'll do it
exactly.
tomorrow or next week. Whereas having that little, and it can be quite a lonely road, but having, that voice each week, on the end of the screen and be able to bounce things across and not being told this is how you should do it. It's like, well, what do you want to do? How do you want to?
Yeah.
What do you want it to be? And we'll help you then find that path. So that's been really cool. So you've done a lot of growing and changing, through your time in CrossFit Green and clearly implementing lessons. What do you think your biggest hurdle is at the moment?
Uh, Sometimes I have to say myself can be my biggest hurdle because I do, as you were saying, I can put it on the long finger or I can get distracted or I want to be involved in too many things. And I have a good leadership team. I just got to let them go and trust in them, and they always deliver. And if they don't, they come and say, "Well, this is my struggle." And so I can be both my greatest asset and my greatest weakness. But currently, and I don't know how this is staffing, good staff, good
Mm,
people. Getting the right people
yep.
for us. I don't know anywhere else in the world, but here there's a huge cost of living crisis. People are worried about jobs.
Hmm.
Um, and just getting the right people, you can't advertise for a coach and say only cool, sound people need apply. which is
Yeah.
really important when you work in this service. Is you have to be cool, you have to be sound, you have to be nice, you have to be friendly, presentable. If you're a grumpy person, you're probably not going to, not all the time, listen, grumpy people can work, but you're probably not going to thrive in this environment. So, yeah,
Yeah.
staffing is has been a big issue, and main reason is we usually staff and everyone stays, and we just continue to grow and
Mm.
continue to grow. So,
Yep.
adding into that has just from the outside, we've kind of nurtured everyone up over the years, bar our general manager. Um, yeah, it's just you don't always know what questions to ask, because usually it's like, well, listen, there's an evolution. So that's been a big hurdle.
Yep.
Processes,
And I think that's
operation
globally.
wise, yeah, I think it is. I think I'm hearing a
Mm.
lot, and a lot of like across multiple industries as well.
Yeah.
Operationally, structurally, systems and processes, we had a lot of them, and let's just say they were all like this. Now what we're trying to do is get them all like this.
Yep.
So if I get hit by a bus, or the general manager get hit by the bus, the leadership team can step in, and we're just trying to fail safe the business, because at the end of the day, people's mortgages, people's payments, people's the members' responsibility is all still going to be ongoing, and so we have to
Mm.
make sure that we set ourselves up as a business, which just so happens to be a gym.
Yeah. And perfect. And, I always looked at it that the members were relying on me to get it right to continue on for them because that's what they
Yeah,
needed. That was their place.
like
And that was my responsibility.
100% is, and like I'm only starting to realize this is like queuing isn't, and technique and group management and seeing, teaching, directing the whole group is really important, but nothing is more important than good communication, so that person comes back tomorrow and the
Mm.
next day, and a good relationship. Because
Mm.
I can be the best cuer and seer and teacher, and oh, I spotted, a valgus knee fault from 20 yards away. But if Mary doesn't come back tomorrow,
Mm.
there's no need for it. So like sometimes it's
Yeah.
learning to say less, do less,
Hmm.
and
Care
just,
more.
care more.
Mm.
And that's when we've gone now towards a more client centric service. It's just care more. Just
Yeah.
do you ask
Yeah.
people, how are you? What do you really want? Oh, well, why are we worried about your overall back squat weight if you just want to turn up because you're suffering with mental health? Let's just have an easy day.
Yeah. Just
And
you
I
don't
think
have to
that
max it
becomes,
out.
no, I think as you become more professional in this world, it's understanding the concepts of being a professional, and being a
Hmm.
professional as opposed to being a professional coach or being a
Yes.
professional gym owner. They're all
Hmm.
relative, but all, I think, I'm not sure if individually siloed is the right way to put it, but they don't
Mm.
all just go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, just need to be able to cross those different little bridges, and once you connect all those dots, it can be, you can have some really powerful relationships. Once you build that base relationship, people will then respond better to your queuing and correcting anyway because they
Yeah,
100% know that you have their back and you trust them. And if you say my knee's coming in, they're not going to say, "Oh no, it's not." They're going to go, "Okay,
yeah,
yeah, yep, it is. Okay, help me fix it." So that's a
yeah.
pretty powerful thing. Um, so you've been around for a while now. One of the questions I like to ask people is, how does something where you perceive it was a failure or an apparent failure set you up for success later? So almost having a favorite failure, something that was at the time spectacularly disastrous, but now it's, allowed you to leapfrog into something way more successful moving forward.
I think the failure came around for us unbeknownst to it being a failure, because we were trying to actually do more, was the lovely unlimited membership.
Mhm.
And you're trying to give people, like, as much, and you're trying to give because your perceived value is giving yourself as much as possible, as opposed to putting the right value on your time to be able to apply it
Mhm.
in the right time and direction. So for us, a big thing was we'd given everyone too much for too little, and we couldn't spread ourselves any thinner. And at some point we had to look at, how that was affecting both the business, the coaches, and everything involved. And we went back and said, right, well, we're actually going to give you less. We're going to give you 7 classes a week for our guys from the unlimited package. And the turmoil it caused, the chaos, and we'd actually done the numbers. And after the kickback, we said, Well, only one person in the gym has actually ever achieved an average of more than 7 classes a week. So I don't know what you're all giving out about. But
Yep.
again, their identity was tied to something. So
Hmm.
we had set something up and we'd let it run and fester for too long. And our ability to not implement change well was our biggest failure.
Mm.
Now we actually have a structure where we change regularly, sometimes just because, so that we don't fall into that, over routine or overly structured. Everything's the same. We change systems, we change processes, we change schedules, class programs, different things. So it keeps people on their toes, but it also says to them that they don't need to be tied. Their identity doesn't need to be tied to something individually. More
Mm.
importantly, they can enjoy the process, they can enjoy the service, they can just enjoy coming to the community, having fun, and and
Hmm.
and just not being so, excuse my French, fucking tied into something that wasn't important, and actually
Yes.
just enjoying looking after themselves. Now the guys that do some people did like 10, 11 classes in a week, and then they end up taking like a week off, and now they
Yep.
come and say, I can't even do 5 in a row. And they're like, but I'm fitter, I'm healthier, my numbers are great. I do 2 on, I do 2 on, 1 off, 3 on. So
Mm.
yeah, the change and implementation of change and how that affected our overall structure was a huge failure for us, but it's been a really good learning curve. We could have just gone into our shells and reverted back to, oh, I'm so sorry, please take unlimited. But that was really the starting process of now, well, how do we look after each client individually? How do we tailor to meet their wants and needs? And how do we best advise them as
Hmm.
professionals so that they can, they also treat us as professionals and see then what we say is going to be best in their interest.
Yep. And that can be a hard thing where you feel like people are going to riot and everybody's going to leave and are making this change to the world as they know it. But then
Yeah.
people tend to, once you hold the course, people will tend to accept that, and data speaks for itself. Like you said, there was one person who was doing more than 7, so it's like, why are you upset about something you weren't doing? But I think it's that perception of getting less,
Yeah.
when you're actually going to give them more and better quality. So it's a really good,
Yeah.
powerful change to make, but difficult. So well done on getting through that for sure.
Yeah. No, I think you said their value, and for us is understanding and demonstrating value has been a real eye-opening experience, like trying to
Hmm.
define what was value for us, trying to define, you know, trying to quantify it as well to make it relative to the coaches. Listen, you're giving so much of yourself in a class, and that person is paying for access to that class, and that is great. But you're giving 5x, and they're paying for X.
Mm.
Not saying do a bad job, but make it relative to that. Also, then for the individual, say for the coach or for the business, we had to say, well, we are worth a certain amount. It's like any relationship. You both have to, whether it's personal or professional, there's both the perceived value for both ways, but you also have to value yourself and hold yourself at a
Mm.
certain standard and a certain level where, well, this is what I'm worth.
Yep.
And if you don't love me for who I am, then it's your loss.
Yeah. Yeah. And move on. So
Yeah.
with you've been doing CrossFit since 2012, which is, not an insignificant period of time, and CrossFit itself has been through a lot of changes, maybe not as a core methodology, but a lot of the culture and the some of the stuff surrounding it, I guess, in that time. In your experience, what do you think at the moment would be the biggest challenge in the affiliate landscape, in regards to the CrossFit world as we know it?
Yeah. I think the mythology of CrossFit, even since I've been around, and I've known guys that were around now for way longer than me, the mythology of CrossFit, what we teach and what we do, I think that's always going to be sound. I don't think you ever are not going to start CrossFit and improve your overall health and fitness.
Yep.
How we teach CrossFit, like we used to do competitive CrossFit. Now, a long time ago, we don't. It's all longevity, health, fitness, sustainability.
Hmm.
You know, the biggest flaw that I see across the CrossFit world was the understanding of, okay, well, CrossFit's going to sell you a weekend cert, and then you're going to go off and you're going to learn and evolve in terms of CrossFit, but you're also going to set up a business hand in hand. Now, this isn't necessarily CrossFit's responsibility, but there was no acumen, there's no emphasis on sustaining the business side so that we could continually reproduce the methodology and adapt and change. Where
Mm.
the fault of this lies, I'm not sure, but the data, say, for example, from 2014-15, there was like 10 or 14,500 CrossFit gyms, I think there. I'm not sure the exact year. Let's just say mid 2018,
Mm.
late tens. Now there's still 14,500 CrossFit gyms, but yet I
Mm.
know there's more open. I know there's more closed. I know there's a huge turnover. Even in individual gyms might turn through hands all the time. Because as a business owner, what happens is you get excited. Year one, woohoo, costs go up as membership goes up, and cost goes up as membership and goes up. And then year 3 and 4, you're like, right, I'm going to get to a certain amount of members because that's what my business needs. And then as your members go up, your costs go up. So as one dial is moving, there's the other dial is moving. So the group access to fitness model is what
Mm.
I blame on it, because I don't think that was ever supposed to be the case. I think Glassman back in the early 2000s was in Santa Cruz with small groups, couple
Mm.
of coaches, everyone was learning peer to peer. It evolved into certs, and then people went off and opened gyms, and they were in 1,000 miles away going, well, how do I run a gym? And they're like, oh, there's a fitness first down the road. I'll follow that model. I'll sell access weekly or monthly to subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it was ever meant to be that. So I think, yeah, the biggest thing for me is that lack of structure around business acumen and big business support.
Mm.
I think the change between Glassman and Eric Rosa, and then the more recent changes in terms of CEOs and boards and everything, they are trying to get on top of it in terms of also like regional affiliate managers and overall business structure. They're kind of looking at it and going, well, hold on, if all these businesses go under and fail, what's that going to do for CrossFit as a brand? And
Mm.
any multi-access to classes, I think after 3 to 5 years, the business owner is either he's evolved or she's evolved to be like life, whether it's marriage, kids, family, evolution, age, change, and they're like, well, hold on, I'm kind of left here with a big steaming pile of crap because the numbers aren't adding up. Why aren't the numbers adding up?
Mm.
And
Yeah, you're always
oh well, I'll
chasing it.
sell it on. You're chasing it. So yeah, I think if you are planning on always selling group access to classes, you need to have a really strong look at your costs, how many people you can fit, whatever it is, because it's never going to equate to a model that's going to be as successful as you could be if you uh, got your shit together and had a look at putting the right value on yourself and your services and try to get that out there to help people rather than a product into the market. And I think
And
CrossFit needs
again,
to kind of put its hand up and try and help steer us in that direction.
that's the thing as well. People open a gym because they want to help people, not because
Mm,
they necessarily want to own a business. And they think, oh well, that's I'm just going to have a gym and I get to train every day and I get to do everything I
yeah,
want, and I get to hang out with people and drink beers and it's going to be cool. And then they realize, oh, there's things I need to do with this, and oh, hang on a minute, there's
yeah.
even down to like,
I
oh, the toilet paper needs changing and the gym needs cleaning. It's CrossFit's evolved now where you can't get away with, the grungy, dirty sort of effect, which was cool back when for the early adopters, is now like people want nice things in the bathroom and nice,
well,
they don't want to go home with black
we
knees.
spend €200 a month on toilet
Hmm.
paper.
Yeah.
I'm convinced people are stealing it, but no,
Yeah.
but like the same, yeah.
All
But
that
again, in
protein.
terms of professionalism, like our
Mm.
cleaning bill for our cleaning service, that's 15,000 euros a year nearly.
Yeah.
It adds up, but we've
Yeah.
got to be
It's
professional.
got
And
to be
these are the
done.
things I wanted to, teach exercise and as you said, have beers. And I think that can be done if everything else is
Mm.
systemically done in front of us. We
Yep.
just got to change the mindset. You can have the beers and do the teaching at the end of a good hard day because you've done all your work,
Yep.
as opposed to, oh, well, do my work and then let all the other really important things fall underneath that. That's never going to be
And we
sustainable.
Yeah, and I think that is a common battle for affiliates and the affiliate model in general, which is something we all want to protect because it's really important and we get to choose our own path, but we've got to be
Yeah.
wise about that path.
There's
Um,
a scary statistic of numbers of CrossFit gyms that have, and it's in the thousands of CrossFit gyms that have changed hands over the last 10, 15 years. And you have to wonder, why. Not all of them is because, oh, well, we want to move on to different pastures.
Mm.
At some point, it's got to be like, you got to be looking at that and say, in what proportion of them is because the business was never sustainable enough for the owner to make a
To
decent
live.
wage out of it. And you hear the stories all the time on podcasts, interviews, YouTube, everything. So yeah, I think we have a due diligence to try and protect this mythology, but also
Yep.
HQ has a due diligence to all the affiliates
Yep.
to protect.
To,
I laugh. We're on an island which is very small. There's 5 million people, and I'm the only affiliate that hosts the certificates that allows other affiliates to then open up down the road for me. But
yeah.
competition wise, I still think the need and want to provide healthcare, preventative healthcare, far outweighs that
Yep.
concern for me. Um,
Yep.
if people want to come and educate and go out and help in the world, they then have to go and do a better model than me down the road if they want to be successful, and that's on their back, not on me. But
Yep.
yeah, I think HQ could do a job just in terms of some sort of structure, some sort of
Yep.
advice. Not this is how you do it, but maybe,
No,
hey,
but
this is why you do it, because if you don't operate a good business, then you're screwed.
yeah, and you're just going to run yourself into the ground and resent everyone and anything.
Yeah.
Just before we wrap up, one of my favorite things to ask everyone is a favorite book that you recommend. Whether it be personal, professional, or something that you find that you can go back to.
Um, well, I've got a couple. I'm going to start off. I'm currently reading the Harry Potter series with my son. He's 7.5, so
No.
you've got to always go in there. The best book I think I've read, well, in terms of my CrossFit development, was Steve Sinek. Has a book or an audio tape or both. Start with Why.
Yep.
And in that book, he starts off and he goes on about Steve Jobs and the iPad or the iPod back in the day, and just the
Mm.
concept of it, and the way he acknowledges the golden circle and stuff, and just understanding everyone's why, that just resonated with me all the time ever
Mm.
since I've read it. And I think that for me is, if you're trying to be entrepreneurial, trying to steer your own path, even in your own business, you've got to start with your own understanding of yourself and your own why, and that should fester out into your leadership, into your community, and that should be in people's thoughts and their processes. So that would be it. As I said to you, is also I've just started. I'm going to start this legacy book. It was given to me last week about the All Blacks and their process. So that will be my next book to read. But yeah, Steve
Yep.
Sinek's Start with Why is a good one.
Highly recommend Legacies we chatted about earlier, and
Yeah.
that Start with Why. It's an excellent place to start if you're feeling a bit lost. I know quite often I was reading it going, is he writing about me right now? Has he been looking
Yeah.
over my shoulder? And you go, wow, that really hit home. And sometimes they were difficult things, and you're like, okay, I need to get this squared away in my life, whether it be personally or in the gym. So definitely
Yeah.
one that someone can't go wrong with.
I think
Thanks for
that's
your
the best way to put it. Yeah, no,
yeah
you can't go wrong with that book. It's always going to be
yeah.
helpful.
It's perfect. Thanks for your time today, mate. Have really appreciated you dropping by, having a chat with us. We look forward to seeing CrossFit Green continuing to rise and serve the needs of the community over there. I think you're doing great work, mate. And we look
Thank
forward to
you.
catching up again soon.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for having me.